Recorded in beautiful Loveland, Colorado. Welcome to Peace Love Moto, the podcast for motorcyclists seeking that peaceful, easy feeling as we cruise through this life together. Are you ready? Let's go! Well, it was another solo ride. I don't know why I so often prefer to go alone. Maybe you're like me. I guess there's something about the freedom to leave when we want to stop when and where we want to go fast or to go slow, do whatever we want. That's freedom, right? Maybe that's one reason we love our bikes. If I may, I would like to describe to you a very cool motorcycling destination that, to me, has quite a lot of meaning. Not only is it a place, but it's a feeling. It's a place called Forrest Gump Point. Yep, that's a real place. It's down in what we call Monument Valley, near where Utah and Arizona meet. Forrest Gump Point is a very remote and small area to stop along a very lonely road, but it's a place that you may need to experience for yourself. So for the next few minutes, let's go there. If you'd like to pause and grab a map, find Denver, Colorado, and we'll go from there. So from Denver, we'll connect to Highway 70 going west. Although traveling Highway 70 going east from Denver remains pretty much flat and straight all the way across Kansas and beyond, well, going west, that's a totally different story. Within just a few miles outside of Denver, we pass near the famous Red Rocks Amphitheater. That's where the Beatles played, for example, and countless other musical stars since then. Now we're entering the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. Cruising fast along these sweeping roads, mile after mile, well, it's just really fun. It's a little scary, but it's really fun. We pass little mining towns like Pagosa Springs and Georgetown. By the way, if you like pizza, be sure to stop at the original Bojo's Pizza in Pagosa Springs. Okay, now I'm hungry. Let's keep moving here. We'll continue to climb, now reaching 11,000 feet above sea level, and we reach the Eisenhower Tunnel. This is an engineering marvel when it comes to tunnel. It tunnels underneath the Continental Divide. So this is a long tunnel. It has slight bends right in the middle of it. Oh yes, it is literally cool. Yeah, at these altitudes, things can really cool off. You'll notice that on a bike, right? We'll be feeling those temperature changes as we climb and descend throughout this route. So we finally exit the long Eisenhower Tunnel, and well, the view is just spectacular. Snow-capped mountains are ahead, even in summer. Along Highway 70, over more mountain passes, we'll eventually reach Vail, Colorado. I typically like to stop at Vail to stretch and walk around the really unique shops in Vail Village. There's a real Scandinavian vibe here, and it's wonderful, wonderful little location with great little coffee shops, and that's where you'll find me. So after a little break and back on the bike, we'll continue west on Highway 70 through Glenwood Canyon. This is one amazing motorcycle ride through Glenwood Canyon. Just like the Eisenhower Tunnel, this too is another engineering marvel, you might say. Coming out of Glenwood Canyon, you reach Glenwood Springs, which is famous for its huge hot springs pool. I'd like to pause here just to make a note that a great option for families is to take the Amtrak train from Denver to Glenwood Springs. This is about a 4.5 hour long trip through some of the most beautiful stretches in the entire Amtrak system. Anyway, from Glenwood Springs, we'll motor on west on Highway 70 to Grand Junction, which I typically will stop and stay the night because the next day's journey is going to be quite significant. Just to note, a short distance from Grand Junction is what's called Colorado National Monument, which is operated by the National Park Service. This is a very fun canyon road, perfectly suited for a motorcycle ride. So if you have time, make that loop also. Continuing on down Highway 70, we'll cross into the state of Utah. Watch for a Highway 191 because this is where we're going to go south and head toward Moab, Utah. I've had a rather odd thing that's happened to me on 2 separate occasions when I visited Moab. On my first trip, I stopped at a local cafe and drove my bike straight into a parking space facing the building where I could see the reflection of myself and the bike in the window. I noticed that one of my 2 headlights was out. So, after eating at the cafe, I stopped by the nearby auto parts store and picked up 2 new headlights and installed them both in the parking lot. As you know, if you are replacing one headlight, you may as well replace them both because the next older one is going to go out eventually, right? Well, anyway, about 2 years later, I decided to take exactly the same ride. Can you guess what's going to happen next? Well, I rode into the same parking spot, I believe there at the cafe, and I noticed in the window one of my headlights was out. This is 2 years later. So not to break with tradition, I went to the same auto parts store, bought 2 new bulbs, and installed those in the parking lot. Well, we're almost there. From Highway 191 past the small community of White Mesa, we'll join Highway 163 and pass the little community called Mexican Hat. It's near here where we'll find a roadside marker where Forrest Gump decided to stop running. In the movie Forrest Gump, the title character, played by Tom Hanks, starts running as a way to cope with stress and confusion in his life. He begins running as a kid, literally running out of the leg braces that had caused him so much difficulty with walking, and then he runs again in his adult life as a way of physically escaping the dangers of the situations he was facing in Vietnam, but also, as we learn, as a way to clear his head and maybe find direction. So Forrest Gump ran. Sometimes, maybe under similar circumstances, you and I just need to ride. If you're not already familiar with the book called Ghost Rider, Travels on the Healing Road by Neal Peart, you should pick it up. So, similar to Forrest Gump, Neal also needed to move. Neal was quite famous as the drummer for the Canadian rock band called Rush. Tragically, Neal lost his daughter and then later his wife. Now, Neal was an avid motorcyclist, and for many years before these terrible events, he would ride. And now he needed to ride. He describes in his book how traveling alone and meeting people along the many, many miles really changed his life and to help him heal. If I may, I'd like to share with you a passage from some of the early pages in Neal's book, Ghost Rider. My little baby soul was not a happy infant, with much to complain about. But as every parent learns, a restless baby often calms down if you take it for a ride. I had learned that my squalling spirit could be soothed in the same way, by motion. So I decided to set off on this journey into the unknown. I decided to take my little baby soul for a ride. So, as I reflect on Neal's true life story and the message from the movie Forrest Gump, I think that most of us face times when we're just overwhelmed by the situations of life, but how very fortunate we are as motorcyclists to have a vehicle that can carry our little baby soul down the road of life. Thank you for listening. Until next time, I wish you peace. I wish you love.